Have you ever felt invisible to someone who once swore you were their world? Like you're suddenly just an option, a convenience, or worse, a mistake they're ready to erase? That gut-wrenching moment when the value you gave, the love you showed, or the time you sacrificed is met with cold indifference. It's brutal. It shatters trust, self-worth, and leaves you questioning everything about yourself. But here's the brutal truth. No one dares say, when someone stops valuing you, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to see it. And here's what you must do before despair swallows you whole, because your power, your dignity, and your life depend on it. What if I told you there's one simple but profound trick that flips the entire game? It's so counterintuitive, so unexpected, it will shock you, but only if you dare to try it. This isn't about begging, proving, or chasing. It's about reclaiming your power in a way that forces respect and awakens self-love like never before. Ignore it and you stay stuck. Use it and you ignite a transformation no one saw coming. The clock is ticking. Stop explaining. Start showing. This is not just a clever phrase or a trendy idea. It is a foundational truth that can revolutionize how you handle being undervalued. When someone no longer cherishes your presence, your words alone become meaningless noise to their ears. The desperate attempts to explain your worth, justify your feelings, or plead for recognition only deepen your invisibility. Psychologically, this happens because humans are wired to trust actions over words. Actions carry a visceral, undeniable weight. They are proof, while words are promises that can be broken or ignored. When you speak endlessly about your value but fail to live it boldly, you give others permission to doubt it. Think about it. How often do we accept empty compliments or excuses, but demand consistency in behavior? This is why showing your worth through deliberate actions is the single most powerful way to regain respect and control. It sends an unspoken message so strong it bypasses all resistance. I am not here to be convinced, I am here to be witnessed. This mindset challenges the very foundation of dependency on external validation. You move from begging for recognition to demanding it silently through your empowered existence. The harsh truth is that clinging to explanations keeps you trapped in a cycle of vulnerability and rejection. You drain your energy trying to convince someone whose perspective is skewed or closed off. By shifting from words to actions, you break that cycle. You take your power back by demonstrating your worth with integrity and confidence. This isn't arrogance. It's self-respect rooted in unwavering truth. When you stop explaining, you also create space for genuine respect to develop, or for the truth to reveal itself. Some will notice and rise to meet your newfound strength. Others won't, and that's their loss, not yours. This shift forces you to look inward and become your own source of validation. The psychological liberation that comes with no longer explaining yourself allows you to cultivate an unshakable self-worth that no one can diminish. Internalize this. Your value is not negotiable. Stop wasting energy trying to talk people into it. Instead, become the living proof of your own power. Show your worth through actions that inspire admiration and respect without a single word uttered. This radical change not only transforms how others see you, but how you see yourself, unbreakable, worthy, and entirely in control. Embrace this truth with fierce confidence, and watch how the world begins to respond differently because you finally stopped asking for permission to be valued. When someone stops valuing you, the natural reaction is to cling harder, to desperately reach out and hold on to whatever fragments remain. But here's the unvarnished truth. Clinging only deepens the wound and fuels a cycle of pain and disappointment. The key to breaking free is to detach emotionally, not as a cold retreat, but as a radical act of self-preservation and empowerment. Emotional detachment isn't about shutting down or becoming indifferent. It's about reclaiming your autonomy and refusing to let another person's inability to value you dictate your sense of worth. This psychological shift is essential because it stops the endless chase for validation that traps so many in toxic patterns. The human mind is wired to seek connection and approval, which is why being undervalued feels like a form of social rejection, one of the most painful experiences we can endure. Our brains react by flooding with stress hormones, making us crave reconnection. But here's the catch. When you respond to devaluation with emotional clinging, you reinforce the very pattern that keeps you stuck. You become emotionally dependent, which makes you vulnerable to manipulation and further neglect. Detachment breaks this neurochemical loop. By stepping back emotionally, you regain control over your reactions and preserve your mental and emotional energy. Detachment also creates a powerful paradox. By emotionally stepping away, you actually increase your magnetic presence. When you're desperate for attention, you signal neediness, which subconsciously repels others. But when you show emotional independence, you project strength and self-respect, qualities that are inherently attractive and commanding. This psychological principle is grounded in the concept of scarcity. What is rare, distant, or unavailable naturally becomes more desirable. By detaching, you transform from a needy option into a valuable prize, forcing others to recognize your worth or risk losing you entirely. This process demands courage because it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths. You must face the possibility that some people simply cannot see your value, no matter how much you give or try. Instead of wasting your precious emotional resources on changing them, detachment encourages you to redirect your focus inward, toward healing, growth, and self-love. This internal shift is the ultimate form of empowerment. It rewires your mindset from dependency to sovereignty, teaching you that your happiness and worth are self-generated, not borrowed from others' approval. Detachment is also a practical boundary. It protects you from further emotional harm by creating necessary distance. This doesn't mean you abandon compassion or understanding. It means you prioritize your well-being above all else. You learn to say no to toxic patterns, unmet expectations, and emotional exploitation. This boundary becomes a shield that preserves your dignity and invites healthier interactions in your life. Most importantly, emotional detachment reveals the true nature of your relationships. When you stop chasing, people either step up and meet you with genuine respect, or they drift away. This clarity is invaluable because it frees you from illusions and false hopes. It creates space for relationships rooted in mutual appreciation rather than need. To internalize this truth, start practicing detachment as an act of love toward yourself. Recognize that your value is independent of anyone's acknowledgement. Choose emotional independence over dependency and watch as your world transforms. This is not surrender. It is power reclaimed, dignity restored, and freedom won. Embrace it fiercely, and you will never again be at the mercy of someone else's inability to value you. Elevating your standards is not a mere act of pride or stubbornness. It is a fundamental declaration of your self-worth and a critical turning point in how you command respect from others. When someone stops valuing you, it's tempting to lower your expectations, to settle for crumbs of attention or respect just to avoid loneliness or conflict. But this approach is a trap, a slow erosion of your dignity and identity. Psychologically, maintaining high standards acts as a powerful boundary that protects your mental health and reinforces your intrinsic value. It's the difference between surviving with diminished self-respect and thriving with unapologetic confidence. The mind naturally seeks equilibrium and will often try to rationalize why you should accept less. They're busy. Maybe I'm asking too much, or this is just how relationships are. These justifications are subtle forms of self-sabotage. By lowering your standards, you signal to yourself and others that your worth is negotiable. This diminishes your presence and allows others to take liberties with your time, emotions, and energy. But here's the bold truth. Your standards are the framework that tells the world how to treat you. When you accept anything less than respect and genuine care, you teach people that it's okay to treat you that way. This is not weakness. It's a clear invitation for neglect. Raising your standards requires you to confront uncomfortable realities. It demands brutal honesty about what you will and will not tolerate. This is a psychological revolution because it shifts your mindset from passive acceptance to active demand. It challenges the cultural myths that suggest love and respect should be unconditional, or that you must endure mistreatment to keep relationships intact. In reality, respect is not a given. It is earned, maintained, and fiercely protected by those who truly value themselves. This act of elevation is deeply liberating because it reclaims your power. When you insist on high standards, you no longer chase after those who undervalue you. Instead, you become a force that attracts respect and admiration naturally. Psychologically, people respond to those who value themselves because self-respect creates a magnetic energy that demands recognition. High standards act like a filter, separating genuine connections from superficial or harmful ones. This filtration process is essential because it safeguards your emotional well-being and fosters relationships that uplift rather than drain you. Another hidden truth is that elevating your standards is not about perfectionism or arrogance. It's about clarity, knowing your worth so clearly that you refuse to compromise it for comfort or fear of solitude. This mindset challenges the deeply ingrained fear that being alone is worse than being undervalued. In fact, the opposite is true. Solitude, when chosen over disrespect, becomes a powerful space for growth, healing, and self-discovery. It prepares you to attract the right people who honor your standards and your soul. Internalizing this requires daily commitment. Every time you allow disrespect or neglect, you reinforce old patterns. Every time you stand firm, you rewrite your narrative. This is not just about others, it's about how fiercely you defend your inner dignity. The moment you raise your standards and refuse to settle, you send a message to the world: you are not a negotiable commodity. You are a non-negotiable force of nature, deserving of unwavering respect and love. Embrace this truth with boldness, and watch how your life transforms as your worth becomes undeniable to yourself and everyone around you. Mirroring someone's behavior might sound like a subtle form of manipulation, but it's far from it when used with intention and clarity. It's a powerful psychological tool that can awaken awareness in the very person who no longer values you. When someone dismisses your worth, they often operate in a space of complacency, taking your presence and kindness for granted. Mirroring their actions without malice but with precision serves as a reflective surface that forces them to confront the reality they've created. This technique challenges both their behavior and your own mindset, pushing for an awakening that is as transformative as it is uncomfortable. Human beings are deeply wired to respond to social cues and patterns of interaction. When you match the energy someone gives you, be it attention, respect, or indifference, you send a clear, nonverbal message: this is exactly what you're giving me. It bypasses arguments, justifications, or emotional pleas, entering a raw, undeniable space of truth. Psychologically, this reflection can trigger cognitive dissonance, where the person realizes their behavior contradicts their previous perceptions or expectations. This internal conflict can spark a reevaluation of how they treat you, often pushing them to either change or clarify their true feelings. This concept forces you to confront your own expectations and boundaries too. It stops you from overextending yourself emotionally and energetically for someone who doesn't reciprocate. By mirroring, you no longer offer more than you receive, which restores balance and self-respect. This shift is crucial because people tend to value what is scarce and withdraw from what is overly available or taken for granted. When you mirror indifference, the message becomes loud and clear. You're no longer the constant in their life. You're a presence that requires mutual respect or distance. Mirroring also dismantles the illusion of control. Often we try to control how others perceive us by bending over backward to accommodate their moods, needs, or whims. This exhausting effort frequently backfires, resulting in deeper neglect and devaluation. By reflecting their energy, you hand the control back to them. It's their actions, their choices, and their responsibility to meet you halfway. This is an empowering psychological stance because it shifts the burden of respect from you onto them, removing the weight of guilt or self-doubt. However, the power of mirroring lies in intention and emotional regulation. It's not about revenge or playing games. It's about honest communication through behavior. This honesty forces clarity. Do they truly value you, or is your relationship built on uneven ground? This technique can feel uncomfortable because it breaks the cycle of familiar patterns, but growth rarely occurs in comfort zones. It challenges you to stand firm in your worth while inviting others to either rise to meet you or reveal their true colors. Internalizing this approach demands courage and self-awareness. It calls you to observe your interactions without emotional hijacking and to respond not from fear or neediness, but from a place of calm strength. When you mirror wisely, you do not lose yourself. You protect your essence and demand the respect you deserve. This method isn't about forcing change. It's about exposing truths and empowering yourself to walk away if those truths don't align with your worth. Embrace mirroring as a radical act of self-respect and clarity. Use it to illuminate the reality of your relationships and to reclaim your power. When done with integrity, this practice transforms how others see you and how you see yourself: strong, unyielding, and entirely worthy of reciprocal respect. When you feel undervalued, one of the most radical shifts you can make is to redirect your energy away from seeking approval and toward fueling your life with purpose beyond anyone else's validation. This is not just a feel-good idea. It's a profound psychological strategy that changes the entire game. Human beings are wired to seek meaning and connection, but when your sense of worth becomes tied exclusively to someone else's recognition, you hand over the keys to your happiness and self-esteem. That's a dangerous place to be because people's perceptions are fickle, unreliable, and often clouded by their own issues. To reclaim your power, you must shift the focus inward and outward simultaneously, investing in your passions, growth, and goals with relentless determination. This shift uproots dependency and plants the seeds of unstoppable self-worth. The need for approval is a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. From childhood, we learn to seek external validation to feel safe and loved. But when this pattern carries into adult relationships, especially ones where you're undervalued, it creates a toxic cycle of craving and disappointment. The psychology here is clear. As long as your self-esteem depends on another person's approval, you remain vulnerable to their inconsistencies, mood swings, and eventual withdrawal. Breaking this chain requires you to cultivate an identity and purpose that exist independently of anyone's judgment. When your life burns bright with meaning, the noise of neglect or indifference becomes just background static rather than a defining narrative. Fueling your life with purpose also activates a powerful feedback loop within your brain. Pursuing goals and passions releases dopamine and other feel-good chemicals that boost your mood and resilience. This biological shift increases your confidence and emotional stability, making you less susceptible to the pain of being undervalued. You become someone who radiates energy and fulfillment, not desperation or neediness. This magnetic presence is undeniable and compels others to take notice, not because you demand it, but because you embody a vitality they want to be near. This truth challenges the common but dangerous mindset that your worth depends on someone else's attention. It forces you to ask the hard question, who am I without their validation? When you start answering that with a clear vision of your own mission, passions, and self-love, you unlock a radical form of freedom. You stop chasing shadows and start creating a life that holds value regardless of who is present or absent. This is empowerment on the deepest level, a refusal to let someone else's inability to see your worth dictate how you live. To internalize this, commit daily to cultivating your passions and goals with fierce dedication. Let your growth become your statement. When you pour your energy into what lights you up, you build a fortress around your self-esteem that no one can penetrate. This is not just survival, it's thriving in the face of rejection. It's saying, my value is inherent. My life is mine to fuel and own. The moment you embody this truth, you reclaim control, command respect, and ignite a transformation that leaves no room for being undervalued. Embrace this mindset fiercely. Let your purpose be louder than their neglect. Fuel your life relentlessly, and watch how your worth becomes undeniable to yourself and everyone around you. Setting boundaries is not just a polite suggestion or a vague idea. It is the uncompromising declaration of your worth and the ultimate act of self-respect when someone stops valuing you. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your emotional and psychological space, and without them, you become vulnerable to manipulation, neglect, and emotional exhaustion. Psychologically, boundaries serve as a framework that defines what behavior you accept and what you refuse to tolerate, creating a safe zone where your dignity can flourish. When you fail to establish clear limits, you invite others to overstep, often unknowingly. But the consequences are real and damaging to your sense of self. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear rejection, conflict, or being perceived as difficult. These fears stem from deep-seated beliefs that love and acceptance must be earned by pleasing others or tolerating mistreatment. This mindset keeps you trapped in a cycle of overgiving and under-receiving, constantly trying to prove your worth through sacrifice. The truth is brutal, yet liberating. Love and respect are not about enduring disrespect or bending endlessly. They are about mutual honoring. Boundaries are the line in the sand that forces others to respect your humanity or step away. Establishing boundaries triggers a profound psychological shift. It transitions you from a passive participant in your relationships to an active guardian of your emotional health. This shift is essential because it reclaims your power, giving you the authority to decide what you accept and what you reject. Boundaries act as a filter that screens out toxic behaviors and invites healthier interactions. This is not about controlling others. It's about controlling your environment to protect your well-being. When you respect yourself enough to set these limits, you also model respect for others and for the quality of your relationships. The hidden truth is that boundaries reveal the true nature of those around you. When you draw a firm line, some will honor it and grow closer, while others will retreat, showing you who genuinely values you and who doesn't. This clarity is invaluable because it saves you from investing time and energy in one-sided relationships that drain you. It frees you to focus on connections built on reciprocity, trust, and genuine care. Psychologically, boundaries reduce stress and increase emotional resilience. Without them, you absorb other people's negativity, drama, and disrespect, which chips away at your mental health. By setting limits, you create a psychological buffer that shields you from this wear and tear. This buffer strengthens your sense of self and allows you to engage with others from a place of strength rather than desperation. Internalizing the importance of boundaries requires practice and courage. It demands that you confront discomfort and face potential pushback, but the payoff is immense. Each time you assert a boundary, you reinforce your self-worth and send a powerful message: you are not available for mistreatment. This message doesn't just protect you, it transforms how others perceive and treat you. Embrace boundaries as your armor and your voice. Let them be non-negotiable declarations of your dignity. When you set and uphold these limits with confidence, you no longer suffer the pain of being undervalued. Instead, you create a life where respect is standard and your worth is unmistakable. Choosing to walk away when someone no longer values you is one of the most difficult yet profoundly liberating decisions you can make. It challenges every fear of abandonment, loneliness, and failure that resides deep within your psyche. But the harsh, unvarnished truth is that staying in a space where you are undervalued is a slow, soul-crushing surrender. Psychologically, clinging to a relationship or connection that dismisses your worth triggers chronic stress, erodes self-esteem, and perpetuates a cycle of pain and disappointment. Walking away, on the other hand, is a radical reclaiming of your life and a clear message to yourself and others that your worth is non-negotiable. Many people hesitate to walk away because they confuse pain with love or because they fear the unknown. This mindset traps you in an emotional limbo where you bargain with hope, waiting for change that may never come. The psychology behind this is deeply rooted in attachment theory. Our brains crave connection, often even when that connection is harmful. We tell ourselves stories to justify staying, convincing ourselves that things will improve if we just try harder. But these stories are often illusions that keep you chained to a version of yourself that accepts less than you deserve. Walking away breaks this illusion and brings a powerful psychological reset. It interrupts the toxic pattern of seeking validation from someone who refuses to give it. This act is not about defeat or giving up, it's about winning your freedom back. When you walk away, you take control of your narrative. You stop allowing another person's inability to see your value dictate your emotional state. This detachment from the source of pain creates space for healing, growth, and rediscovery of your true worth. This truth also challenges the cultural myth that leaving is a failure. In reality, choosing yourself over a devaluing situation is the bravest and most successful act of self-love. It's a declaration that you deserve relationships that uplift, respect, and nourish your soul, not drain or diminish it. Walking away teaches you that you are whole on your own and that your happiness is not dependent on someone else's approval or affection. Moreover, walking away is a transformative act that rewires your brain. It trains your mind to prioritize self-respect over approval, emotional health over toxic attachment, and future possibilities over past pain. This shift empowers you to set higher standards for yourself and others. It also opens the door for new relationships that align with your authentic worth, rather than old patterns of neglect and disappointment. Internalizing this requires immense courage and clarity. It demands you confront your fears head-on and choose discomfort over ongoing pain. It requires you to believe in a future where you are valued deeply, not just tolerated. When you walk away, you embody the truth that your value is not determined by someone else's recognition, but by your unwavering commitment to yourself. Embrace walking away as a powerful act of liberation and self-respect. Recognize that it is not the end, but the beginning of a life where your worth is honored fiercely. When you choose yourself first, you ignite a transformation that radiates strength, dignity, and unshakable confidence, making it impossible for anyone to ever undervalue you again. Self-reflection is one of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, tools for reclaiming your worth when someone no longer values you. It's tempting to focus all your energy outward, on the other person's actions, on trying to change their mind, or on defending yourself against perceived neglect. But true transformation begins inward. Self-reflection demands brutal honesty with yourself, peeling back layers of denial, hope, and fear to confront the reality of your emotions and patterns. Psychologically, this practice is essential because it fosters self-awareness, which is the cornerstone of change. Without understanding your own responses, triggers, and boundaries, you remain trapped in cycles of undervaluation and hurt. The first hidden truth self-reflection reveals is how much of your sense of worth has been outsourced to external validation. This realization is unsettling because it challenges the comforting illusion that your value depends on others' opinions. When you dig deeper, you often uncover subconscious beliefs that say, "I am only worthy if I am needed," or "I must tolerate disrespect to be loved." These beliefs are toxic defaults programmed by past experiences and societal messages, but they are not facts. Self-reflection exposes these false narratives and empowers you to rewrite them with truths that honor your inherent dignity. Engaging in this inner work also forces you to recognize patterns that keep you stuck. You might notice how you repeatedly ignore red flags, excuse poor treatment, or suppress your own needs to maintain peace. Psychologically, this is a survival mechanism, an attempt to avoid conflict or abandonment, but it's also a form of self-betrayal. When you consistently sacrifice your worth for others, you teach your brain to accept less than you deserve as normal. Self-reflection interrupts this programming. It shines a light on your role in these dynamics, not to assign blame, but to reclaim responsibility and power. Awareness is the first step toward breaking free from toxic cycles. This process also nurtures emotional intelligence, the ability to identify, understand, and manage your feelings. When you're clear about what you're experiencing internally, you can respond with intention rather than react impulsively. This emotional clarity is a game changer because it prevents you from falling into patterns of desperation, anger, or self-doubt when faced with neglect. Instead, you respond from strength, setting firm boundaries, or choosing to walk away with grace. This shift elevates your interactions and recalibrates how you expect to be treated. Self-reflection, however, is not a one-time act. It's a continuous commitment. It requires patience and courage to look inward without judgment and to hold space for your own growth. This mindset challenges the common impulse to seek quick fixes or external rescue. Instead, it encourages a profound internal shift, recognizing that the most lasting change comes from cultivating a deep, unshakable connection with yourself. Internalizing self-reflection means becoming your own advocate and ally. It's about listening to your inner voice, trusting your intuition, and honoring your experiences without discounting or minimizing them. When you master this, you stop relying on others to validate your worth because you have built a foundation of self-respect that no one can shake. Embrace self-reflection as your secret weapon in reclaiming your value. Let it guide you to see clearly, heal deeply, and act boldly. In doing so, you transform from someone who is undervalued to someone who commands respect and honors themselves fiercely, creating a life where your worth is never in question. Embracing self-love is not a mere cliché or a soft, feel-good concept. It is a revolutionary act of reclaiming your power and rewriting your entire relationship with yourself and the world when someone stops valuing you. Psychologically, self-love is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships and personal boundaries rest. Without it, you remain vulnerable to seeking validation externally, which leaves you exposed to neglect and devaluation. When you cultivate genuine self-love, you create an unbreakable core that radiates confidence and resilience, transforming how you engage with others and, most importantly, how you value yourself. The hidden truth many avoid facing is that self-love is not about arrogance or narcissism, but about deep respect and acceptance of your whole being, including your flaws, mistakes, and imperfections. This kind of love demands brutal honesty and radical kindness towards yourself. It means looking in the mirror and affirming, "I am enough. I deserve respect, care, and happiness." This affirmation challenges the destructive narratives often ingrained in us. Those whispers that say we are unworthy unless we meet impossible standards or endlessly giving to others. Such toxic beliefs fuel a hunger for external approval, which when unmet leads to feelings of emptiness and despair. Psychologically, self-love rewires your brain's reward system. When you practice it consistently, you shift from a scarcity mindset, where love and respect feel limited and must be earned, to an abundance mindset that recognizes your inherent worth regardless of external conditions. This shift changes everything. Your internal validation becomes the standard, not someone else's fluctuating attention or affection. This alone makes it impossible for others' neglect to define your emotional state or self-esteem. Self-love also sharpens your emotional boundaries. When you truly value yourself, you no longer tolerate disrespect or mistreatment, not because you fear losing others, but because you honor your own dignity. This internal respect manifests as clear, firm boundaries that protect you from emotional harm. It is impossible to undervalue someone who loves themselves fiercely. That energy commands respect, draws healthy relationships, and repels toxicity. This process challenges the common mindset that love must be earned or proven through sacrifice. It demands you flip the script. Instead of asking, "Why don't they value me?" ask, "How can I value myself first?" This question shifts the power back into your hands. It stops the exhausting chase for external validation and redirects that energy into cultivating your own worthiness and happiness. Internalizing self-love is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong practice of self-compassion, forgiveness, and nurturing your mental and emotional well-being. It calls for daily actions, setting aside time for yourself, speaking kindly inwardly, celebrating your progress, and refusing to settle for anything less than what nourishes your soul. When you embrace this, you become your own strongest supporter and defender. Let self-love be your unshakable foundation. Let it fuel your courage to walk away from devaluation and to demand relationships that reflect your worth. When you embody self-love fully, you transform from someone waiting to be valued into someone who radiates undeniable worth, changing not only how others see you, but how you see and honor yourself forever. Gratitude might seem like an unlikely weapon when you're grappling with the sting of feeling undervalued, but its psychological power is profound and transformative. When someone doesn't value you anymore, it's easy to spiral into bitterness, resentment, and self-pity, emotions that only deepen the wound and cloud your perception of reality. However, choosing gratitude rewires your mind to focus on what remains good, strong, and worthy within and around you. This shift is not about denying pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously reclaiming your emotional balance and redirecting your energy toward growth and healing. Psychologically, gratitude activates neural pathways associated with positive emotions, which counterbalance the effects of stress and negative thought loops that arise from feeling neglected or dismissed. One hidden truth that gratitude reveals is how much of your happiness and self-worth has been surrendered to external validation. When you cultivate gratitude, you acknowledge the abundance already present in your life. Your strengths, your achievements, your relationships that do honor you, and your own inner resilience. This acknowledgement disrupts the dangerous narrative that you are lacking or incomplete because someone else failed to see your value. Instead, gratitude illuminates the reality that your worth is multifaceted and not dependent on one person's recognition. This realization challenges the victim mentality, replacing it with empowerment and accountability for your own emotional state. Gratitude also rewires your brain's response to adversity. Rather than fixating on loss or rejection, it trains your mind to find meaning and lessons in hardship. This doesn't mean you diminish the pain, rather, you expand your perspective. By doing so, you reduce the psychological impact of feeling undervalued and build emotional resilience. This resilience is crucial because it stops you from falling into self-destructive patterns or toxic attachments that prolong suffering. Instead, you develop a mindset that looks beyond immediate setbacks toward long-term growth and fulfillment. Furthermore, gratitude fosters a powerful internal feedback loop. When you focus on what you appreciate, whether it's your own courage, your support system, or moments of joy, you amplify positive emotions that boost confidence and self-esteem. This emotional uplift is a catalyst for action, inspiring you to invest more in yourself and in relationships that reciprocate your worth. Gratitude becomes a magnet that attracts healthier dynamics, as your elevated energy signals to the world that you are someone who values yourself deeply. The common mindset that gratitude is only for times of happiness is a limiting belief that needs dismantling. Gratitude, especially in moments of pain or rejection, is a form of radical self-care and fierce emotional strategy. It is the deliberate choice to nourish your soul rather than deplete it. Internalizing gratitude means making it a daily practice, not as an obligation, but as a powerful act of reclaiming your emotional power. Embrace gratitude as your secret weapon against the corrosive effects of being undervalued. Let it guide you to see beyond rejection and tap into the vast well of worth already within you. When you practice gratitude consistently, you shift from a place of scarcity and despair to one of abundance and hope, igniting a transformation that elevates your spirit and commands the respect you deserve, starting with your own.